Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're joining us from in the world today. We're here for the second episode of this month's In the Code Garden series, where we're working on creating GitHub pages portfolios. And I'm joined by my lovely guest co-host for this month, Amanda Hogan. I'm Renee Noble, the regional cloud advocate for Microsoft Reactor. And yeah, I love community, technology, and education. So I get to come here and do that all with you today. And Amanda, she came to the realization that she wanted something more in life while working at Microsoft and took the opportunity to retrain as a teacher and hasn't regretted it since. She's taught all year levels in senior school and in different computing subjects. She also has the unique opportunity to gain insight into the art and science of teaching by assisting fabulous teachers in most faculties in the school and to use technology in their classrooms. She has the opportunity to work with many different aspects of running a school as an IT consultant and up to different school leadership opportunities. She also gets to occasionally play with robots and make computer games and watch students' eyes light up when they get to do the same. She has a side focus on helping other teachers learn how to code and teach IT as well through her work with the ICT Educators of New South Wales. And she's also really wants to get around to writing that textbook, which I'm pro that. So let me know when we're going to do that, Amanda.
We're definitely going to do that, Renee.
Yeah, definitely 100%. So yeah, we're going to make some portfolios today because Amanda works with a lot of kids as well as knows a lot of uni students, and they all need portfolios as well as like industry professionals. So really something for everybody in today's show, really, I'd say. We've got some cool stuff coming up. So we're going to do a little episode 1 recap and to show you what we made last week so you know where we're starting from. And then we're going to talk about today how to make your portfolio stand out, because we have a nice simple one, clear, gets the message across, but how can we jazz that up a little bit? And then we're going to talk about how to make it mobile friendly with responsive CSS, adding rich media with video, so how we can put a YouTube video into our website, and using JS to show off your work with a carousel. And finally, we're just going to talk a little about colors and fonts because they seem like such a niche topic. Really, it's just like, oh, just an afterthought, but they're really important, I would say. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah. I think they show your personality. That's what we want to get across in our folio.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So today's garden tools are we're using GitHub and GitHub Pages. That's how our site is deployed. Not that we specifically will be talking about the deployment today, but if you want yours to be alive, do look at episode 1 from last fortnight so you can see how that all went up there. And we're going to be using github.dev to code this in the browser, but you can use Visual Studio Code natively on your computer as well. We'll also be using 2 extensions. We're using the CodeSwing extension that allows us to see our website in VS Code or in github.dev as we build it. And we're also going to be using the live share extension so me and Amanda can work on the code at the same time together. So that's a great thing if you need to work with people remotely around the country, the world, wherever you are. So super convenient. So let's take a quick look at what we did last week. So we've been building a sample portfolio from a template. So we gave you this template that was here on the right. You can grab that template here. Well, we can grab that template here in the at this link here to get yourself started if you didn't join us last week. And you can go back and watch last week's episode to see what we did to add a bit more than just this singular gray picture with one project. So we duplicated that out to have a few more, and we filled in all the details. So
I think we have a link in the chat for people to follow, going to GitHub Portfolio Morning, and so you can find everything there.
Yes, thank you, Amanda. And thanks for everyone saying hi in the chat. Hi, James from Cincinnati. Fantastic. We'd love to know where you're all joining us from in the world. So we then went on to extend it so it looked more like this. So we've got some text in there. We talked a bit about how, to write a good description of you, about you and your goals, so people know where you want to go and why they should hire you. And yeah, we filled out all of this and made a few more of these lovely little projects existing. Hello, Alan in Brisbane. Okay, so let's take a quick look at that one actually, which is in our tab over here. One of these many ones. Here we nope.
While you're finding the tab, we have a couple more good mornings from New York and Oxford. We're really running the world today.
Love it. That's so cool. Okay, is this one from last week? No, this is our sneak preview coming up. I've got so many different GitHubs open. That's the trick. I'll show you where we did go to get the link. So we'll go back into settings and we'll go over and pop over to pages, and that's where it gives you your portfolio link if you've forgotten where it is, which I used to always forget how to construct this, and you can just go click it. But yeah, this is what we made last week. So you can click on these and you can go to your GitHub repo. You can go see it live as the code is in your actually website and is running. Yeah, and we talked about that. So that's what we made, and we're going to be building on from that point this week. So yeah, we made it go live. That's where the link is. It's in the slide. And yeah, so now we're going to talk about how we can make that a bit cooler. Because it seems pretty good so far, but what can we do to make it better, Amanda?
Okay, so I think that since we're showcasing our work in a portfolio, the portfolio we talked about last week is an element of the portfolio. So being able to show off what you can do in the portfolio is a really good thing. And so adding some things like what we're going to do today with the JavaScript carousel to show that you're capable of doing something like that is a good idea. But I think it's important to not try and throw everything you know onto the one page. So we're going to try and keep consistency, have repetition, not too many colors, some white space. That's the space around your text that it gives people a chance to like take a break. Their eyes get to take a break a bit before rather than being bombarded. And a little bit of JavaScript that we talked about, and easy to read black text. It's a pet hate of mine to have to squint at colored text. It can be very difficult to read.
Absolutely. I love a site that just flows and it just takes you to where you should be reading next. It's just easier, and not having to like strain your eyes to try and read something, because if someone's busy, they're just going to skim over those parts, and you want to make the use of every second that they're looking at your page. So what don't we want to see, Amanda?
Okay, so I think we want to minimize movement. Web pages that distract you by having things that move without you having to interact with them is a little bit off-putting. Also, automatic sound that starts without you pressing it on anything, that's really not a good thing. It can actually make people get out of your site as quickly as possible. And also there's this old thing that they used to tell girls when they were dressing up to go out, to do a spin around in front of the mirror and take off the first thing that caught your eye, because it's just a little bit too much bling. And so we want to do a similar thing with our website, and anything that really stands out, maybe take that one away.
Yeah, because the UI is just going to be going there, and they're going to be missing the content, which is what we really want them to be focusing on.
What we want them there for, that's right.
Yeah. Rather than, you're panning across. What's the thing from the 90s that we had that scrolled across the screen? I can't even remember. They're so out of vogue now. Don't add one of those.
Banners and things, yeah.
Yeah, no moving banners.
No moving banners.
No. So we're going to give you 3 different tech features today, and then talk a little bit about design. We have an HTML. With our HTML, we're going to be embedding a video. Then we're going to make our site responsive, so suitable for mobile phones with CSS. And we're going to add a JavaScript carousel. So that's going to be fun, I think. So yeah, let's jump across to, let's have a quick look at what that's going to look like. So popping across to here, and that was this one here. Okay, so banners today, still the same, except for the part where we make this mobile friendly. So if we do this,
hooray!
It does no longer overflow.
if you were here last week, you can see the improvement.
That's it. Look, we can go back to the other one, and we can see what's going to happen. It's not quite good, and not to mention this part down here. Talk about squinting to read stuff. So that's also going to be fixed here. in this tab. So if we go down now, let's scroll down here. We can now see that it pops and it's all okay now. So, and that's really not much CSS to just get it to do that. So I'm very happy about just making it a bit better. If you're not like, oh, I'm going to redesign this whole site for mobile, that's okay, because you could actually do this in about 4 minutes to make your portfolio just a lot better for mobile, as we saw. So we've also got our carousel, which is here, which I'm very proud of. I don't write a lot of JavaScript, so I did put this together for this. And if you want to show off more than one picture, this seems like a pretty flashy way to do it.
It looks pretty slick.
Yeah. So, and it looks like, yeah, we know what we're doing. And then we have our video down here, which you can just embed a YouTube video also. Super easy, super fast. So, yeah, and then you can have your rich media in there to give someone, like, keep them watching. You know, people love to watch videos, especially in this day and age of TikTok. So captivate them with a video. And like that can really show you, if you can't, you're like have a link to a live site, but you do want to show off some features, you can put them in a video and that'll keep them watching and give them an experience. Okay. So let's talk about making something mobile friendly. So, well, I get this stuff up. Amanda, do you want to talk about making things mobile friendly?
Okay, so the general process is that just as we saw with Renee moving the screen smaller and bigger, is that it's really awful to try and do something or look at something on your mobile phone when you're on a train or something and find that it's not designed for it at all. And you have to slide left to right to try and find out what the heck is it's saying, or you have to do the squinting to try and work out what that text is that's written on top of that other text. So we just don't want to do that. We want to make it look like, regardless of the size of the laptop or the size of the tablet or the size of the phone that the person is using, that they can still see a good experience.
Yeah, excellent. That's it. Like people want to be able to look at things wherever they are. If you're at an event and you're like, oh, I've got a really cool portfolio, I just wanted to show you this one thing. It sounds exactly aligned to your business needs. You want to be able to show them there on the spot.
Yes.
Question from MIML in the channel in the chat: is episode 1 a prerequisite? It's not a prerequisite, but so you can just pull this repo. So I'll get you a link to.
It's in the links in the chat.
Oh yes, excellent.
aka.ms and GitHub portfolio morning.
Yes.
So if you go up the 831 post, there is a link in the chat. Excellent. And so then you just pull what we've done from last week and then you can build on from there.
Exactly. Thank you, Amanda. I'll pop that up on the screen. Here we go. That might be...
You have all the fancy things.
I got the clicky buttons. It's a good time. I'm just wondering if that one is our portfolio link.
I think it is. I think I
did the live one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, one hot minute. Let's get it up so everyone can follow along at the same time. Portfolio morning. Otherwise, we'll drop another link in the chat. No, it's good. So yeah, pull that one so you can just fork that here, up here, so you can all follow along. Okay, back we go to getting started. But we are using CodeSwing today. So I'm going to need to I'm doing my Control-Shift-P to start my CodeSwing. I'm also going to need to add Amanda into this in a second, so I'll get to that. But opening Swing, so mine's already set up as a CodeSwing from last episode. So if I open Swing, then it will give me more windows and the preview over here. I'm also going to start my live session. I'm going to share this with Amanda. And I'm going to pop that over to our secret behind this backstage chat. Okay, cool. We've got that all ready to go. So I'm going to start with just the CSS. I'm going to pull this up here. And I'm just going to go down to the bottom. So we have a bunch of CSS from last week, but what we're really interested in is what happens to this box and this box. Basically when it gets really small. So we're going to start out with that one. But if you've never done any responsive design before, I'll show you just how powerful it is, or how easy it is, I'm going to say. So I'm just going to go down to the bottom of my file because we're adding an extra set of CSS rules that only trigger in specific widths is what's going to happen here. Well, I've got a lot of comments here. Let's get rid of all of those. So this is just my background color demo. So it's just going to make the screen go blue when it gets less than 500 pixels. And we just need to close off that one there. So we have this media tag. So that's how we say this is what we're watching out for, the width of the screen. So we've set the rule to be max width is 500. Otherwise, so anything that's under that is going to go blue. There we go. So blue. We can have that be anything we want. Orange. Stand out even more. We get orange screen if we do that. So that's its like easy way to say, look out for this and then do some rules. So all we have to do in here now is change the rules of what's going on. So let's jump over and I'll get, so what we want to talk about here is, I'm going to actually have two different sets of rules because we kind of have different stuff going on when we have the, we kind of want the, this kind of to act at a different width because this blurb is wider than these pictures over here. So we kind of want different rules to apply. So I'm going to have one that acts on this part up here on the header and one that acts on this part down here on the blurb. So I'm going to have one set that works for 500 width. It's what I've guessed. It's no science, and that's going to work on this part at the top because we can actually get quite narrow before this starts to become a problem with the box. So, okay, we're going to get to the main header. This is the part I'm going to add in here. So I don't care about the body anymore. That can go away. And I'm going to put in just some code for the header. We'll start with the header main, which is basically what we want to do is previously we set this up as a grid. So these are two grid cells. And then now when we do that, we've said we're not actually going to be a grid. We're actually going to go back to the like normal flow of the page. We're not going to use a grid when we get less than 500 pixels, and we're going to say it's a block. So now these two elements are blocks, and that just means that they follow after each other down the page. So now we've said, okay, we've gone down the page and we've just added a little top margin so they don't get too squished up together, but negligible difference. Actually, let's just get rid of that. We don't need any extra stuff just for our demo. So that's pretty chill. I think that was a pretty fast thing to do. Amanda's adding us some notes.
I'm just putting in what it used to be so that you can see the display grid, so that you can see what's changed.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So, and then I also have had added width 100%. So this, let's just get rid of that for a second, just so that we don't have this being narrow because we had it kind of specifically narrow before. But now we're going to have that flow over to take up the full width, just so it doesn't look like there's a weird white space to the side of it. So that's it. We've done the header, which is pretty chill, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty easy. And I think we do want to set, there is one more thing I wanted to add, which is up the page, and it kind of applies all the time. So I'm not even going to put it in the media tag. I'm going to say min width for our content, our header contact. So let's go find that. Contact. So we had a max width, so it didn't get too like wide, but we're also going to have a min width. Let's show what happens. Come here. So currently my email address is overflowing, and I'm going to put this in, and now it's never going to be too narrow for my email address. It has like overflowed onto another line, so maybe I want to say that the min width is 140. There we go. I think that's pretty good. So yeah, that's super easy. Let's do down the page, I reckon.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to grab another, and this one's also super easy, even easier than the last one. So we've got another media tag coming in. That's this one here. And I'm saying this happens at 700 pixels because it's already becoming a problem here. It's like, that doesn't look good. So then I'm going to go to each of these sections we've entitled a project. So let's have a look in the HTML actually. Whatever I did, I don't want to do that. Okay. We're going to do the class is project. So that's somewhere in here. Let's just search for project. And that will be here, class project. So each of these articles, and we just want them to flow as well using the block layout. So instead of the grid layout, Amanda might be able to grab the rest of that for us so we can see it again, because I think that's just genius. It's like you go, a super professional teacher person. So yes, now instead of having the grid, now it's just blocks. So this just returns it to the natural order of things in terms of web pages. Before we had grid templates, etc. So it used to be split 50-50, and now it just, once it's like, no, it's going to be too narrow, it just pops it back to being a
one under the other.
Exactly, block flow. And then and then obviously don't buy a mobile phone that's this narrow. That would be silly. Okay, so excellent. Cool. Okay, that's sounding pretty good. So I'm going to let Amanda, unless we have any questions about that in the comments. Okay.
We do have a bunch of hellos. We've got India and Nigeria, amazing, and Missouri and South Carolina and Canberra, Australia, and Washington, USA.
Amazing. We love everyone coming here together. What a mixing pot of technology and people.
Amazing.
That's so cool. So Amanda, tell us about videos.
Okay. We're going to be using YouTube today. There is just a really easy way to put your videos into your web page, and YouTube is very helpful for you. You don't have to. Way back in the day when I used to do web development, I'd have to remember all of the syntax for a video link and the sizing and stuff. No longer. We're going to use an iframe, and YouTube is going to build that for us. So,
Love it.
First thing to do is to go and find ourselves our YouTube video.
Great. So here's a YouTube video that I uploaded of the Wordle project that we previously had a little snapshot of, but this is way more interesting. So we're just going to go in here, and now I'm going to remember what the link is. I think I just right-click it. That's right. Copy embed code. That's it.
That's right. Or you could click on share, because that's...
Oh, yes. Where is the share button?
Just underneath the video, it has the name, and then it has like, dislike, share. And so if you click on embed, it's right there. So there's a couple of ways you can get to it. And we want all of that iframe.
That's it. What is an iframe, actually, Amanda?
Oh, it just is it's like a little window inside your web page that can be formatted, and then it can host things inside it. So it just allows your web page to be laid out a certain way, and then just have this little, almost a porthole into another universe.
Yeah. It's like, you're just putting another website inside your website.
Inside your website. Yeah,
that's really convenient for weird applications sometimes. Or if you build like a little website. I actually did this for a school, and they wanted a little website for their school library competition. But they, use a off-the-shelf library software, and they're like, well, how am I going to put this in? Oh, I actually can just embed raw HTML. So thank you, Amanda. That's where we're putting it. We had this image.
We had no image, longer. And we're going to have no image.
That's it. Okay, so it's quite large now. Interesting.
I think that is technically our Wordle app rather than the language translation web app, but
I put it in the wrong place. That's right.
No, you put it in the right place. I think the title's just wrong.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let's say Wordle. Wordle fun. That's what I'm going to call it for now. Word or projects in Python. Great. That's what we've called it. Okay, so we got that. And what do we need to do now so it doesn't look kind of out of place with everything else? Broken out, beautiful responsive design.
We probably have to muck around with some width settings.
A little bit, I think. So I'm going to find out what we said was the correct width in our preparation for this moment. Okay, so I think we've said width. So we're setting it to the same size as the other pictures. I think
that it lines up. Yeah.
The key thing. So all of our pictures are 300 wide, and this video looks all right at 400 tall. So we're going to do that. Yeah. And now it does the same thing as everything else. So that's good.
Hooray.
Does kind of hang out over here, which I think I had to do a little bit of fun CSS to make sure the same things applied to everything else.
Yeah, that's right. We can.
Yeah. Now, to remember exactly what that was, I think we need to give it a class or something.
The images don't have a class.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting problem then. Shall we look at the diff in GitHub between the what we made before and what this is? Or do you remember, Amanda?
I imagine it's margin auto, but I don't know for sure.
Interesting. Well, we'll teach a fun skill of looking at a commit to see how something is different than it used to be.
This is a good idea. I like this skill.
Yeah, it's great stuff. So we're going to go to the repo that is called portfolio test, which is where we do all of our secret preparation in advance. So I will find portfolio test when I have so many repos now these days, except we're in the wrong one. We're in my demo org one that we needed to use when we got to the afternoon session, and we couldn't realize we couldn't fork the template twice. So portfolio test. Let's go there. Because with CSS and HTML, there's always like a couple of little niggles you got to do to get it to line up just right. And the more and more you do, the more you go, I know how to fix this.
It is the thing that breaks the web developer.
That's it.
You have to put a red box around everything so you can see what the heck is going on.
That's it. Yes. Don't be afraid to make your website look terrible for the sake of making your website look great.
Exactly.
So only temporarily terrible. And we do need to, we've got a couple of things to add. So these are all our new bits of code. So that's coming up. This is our thing here. It must be in the CSS, I think. Did we add something? We've added here images.
And
yeah, you're right. Amanda,
that was right.
Genius.
Look at that.
Margin auto is what's missing from our thing. So let's go to where we have stated our image CSS. And which one are we in? Here we go, portfolio morning. So to the CSS. Okay.
I don't think that's the page that's shared with me because I've highlighted it.
That's not the right one. It's this one.
Yes.
Hooray. We've done it. It's got our beautiful website here over to the right. Okay. And you've highlighted it for
line
us.
79.
Oh, champion.
In the CSS.
In the CSS. We've arrived. No, we're not arrived yet.
79.
Find you. There we are.
Yay!
Perfect. Amanda saved the day with margin auto, which means it basically lays things like out in the middle of something. It kind of like center, except doesn't sound like center because you center at other times for things, but this is what you need to do sometimes. So yeah, that's looking good.
It looks good.
We've got rich media. We can play that in our site now. You might also, if you have something that has sound, so this is just a screen capture, but if you have something with sound, you might want to play around in the parts in here. So it's got a bunch of stuff that YouTube gives you that has like autoplay and stuff. So you might want to have something
play from a certain timestamp, things like that.
You could use that. You could say play without sound because that would be obnoxious if it started like playing like loud music or something when someone's trying to review your portfolio for a job. I
have a question in the chat that says, can you use an iframe or something like a Google map? And we definitely can.
Yeah, it's very cool. And people do it all the time. So great question from Jacob. Yeah, that's hot tip. That way you didn't have just like a screen capture of a Google map in your site. You have like a dynamic thing and it keeps up to date and people can be like, yes, give me directions to this place rather than having to copy it across to Google. Yeah, love it. Okay, cool. Okay, next up. What are we doing? We're doing a carousel. What do you think about the carousel, Amanda? Like,
I just really like that it allows you to show more than one image, but not mess up the, that really nice structure you have of the page. So you really want a hero image, but also I've got these other images that are useful. So the carousel just allows you to give the user control over what they see.
Yeah, and I guess it like keeps it away from that movement because we could have like a video slideshow that auto plays or something of the different stuff, but we did say like don't have like spontaneous movement. So I think that really helps with that. Yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to need to get this started. We're going to talk about JavaScript. What do you have to say about JavaScript, Amanda?
I'm fine with JavaScript just to navigate the document object model, but as soon as we get into this async stuff, I'm out. I can use it for the things I need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, yeah, you just learn it one bit at a time, and you can go out there and learn. Like, you could try and learn all the stuff, but I think it really comes into use when like you actually put it into practical applications. There's the one thing when you need it, and then you'll have that in your pocket next time you want to do it. So you can do things like writing scripts when you click stuff, which is what we're going to be doing, or when you type things, etc. So like sometimes like those autocomplete things where it's like, oh, is that your suburb? And it's like actually running JavaScript to like ask for all the possible suburbs that could match when you do that. And by making requests behind the scenes, so asking other websites and other APIs for information. And you can process the data that comes back to change the site, as Amanda was saying, with the document object model or the DOM, which we'll talk about in a second. And we can also manage cookies and stuff if you want to store information that's useful for your site. Like if you had a shopping cart on your website and you wanted to make sure all that stuff got remembered, even if they left the page or their computer, shut down. Cool. Can you tell us about how the DOM works, Amanda?
Okay, so the document object model, which is what we're talking about when we say the DOM, is where the bits of your HTML page are actually all related to each other. So you'll notice that when you do HTML, we have an HTML tag opening and closing surrounding the entire page. And then we have inside that HTML tag, we have a body tag. And inside that, we have a number of, if we go to our page, we have a number of articles. And then each of those articles have things inside them. And so that's kind of like a big hierarchy of things inside things. And we want to be able to navigate that hierarchy and find the things that we want to manipulate. And so using IDs and things like that to find the one that I'm actually trying to change right now is a really good way, first steps into JavaScript, I find.
Absolutely. And yeah, they have all these like built-in properties that you can just like set and say, maybe for instance, like, is it hidden or something? And you're like, yeah, I want to hide this image when I click this button. And then you can just say hidden equals true. And then you click the button and it disappears by running that JavaScript. So.
You can assign all of the CSS on the click of a button.
And the content. You could update
and content,
words
absolutely.
on the page.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very cool stuff. Very powerful tool, JavaScript. And like people using websites every day. So if you can do some JavaScript, you got a lot of job opportunities out there, really.
Absolutely.
So yeah, what is JavaScript? It's a scripting language. So we do a lot of Python on the Code Garden, and at the end of the day, JavaScript is just a scripting language. It just happens to be the one that runs in the browser. And you can set up all those event triggers with clicks or on typing, etc., to make that code run. So let's give it a try in the console because it's fun. You can just write code. Let's just make
in your browser.
In your browser. That's not the right one. Here we go. Let's go not to that page. There we go. No, None of these are working today. Here we go. Give me my shortcuts. It doesn't work because sometimes people override the ability to use developer tools, etc. in the page. So we're going to go to this page later. Come on. Here we go. We've got that.
Yeah. Great.
It's happened. Okay, cool. Let's go here and we can just type things like console.log. And we can just print out like hello in here. We can just do like 5 plus
Wild.
5.
You're talking with your browser.
That's it. And we could go and inspect a thing or something. And like you can see all the stuff in here. And I'd have to remember, I think it's give me back the console. If we just do like exclamation, is that it? You can just get the thing that you've selected. And you can just get the thing that you've identified in the code. And then you can start being like, set the color to purple, etc. if you want to play around. So super cool stuff.
Yeah, super cool.
Let's use it, I reckon. Back to the slides. What have we got coming up? Yeah, we'll make a carousel. That's what we're going to do, which is this part that we saw on the site where you can click and see the different pictures coming up. Okay, so while I do get set up, Amanda, do you want to talk about how we can include the JavaScript in the site and how it links to the HTML? Yes.
Okay. So back in the day when I first started doing programming, I put everything in the same page. When I first did HTML and CSS, I had the style tag at the top and I had the script tag at the bottom and I had the HTML in the middle. And it doesn't give you enough control, I tell you. It's just all stuck to the same page. So if we want to do some scripting, we actually want a separate file where we can put all of the functions that we want to run on anywhere in the site, not just glued to that one page. Now, in this case, I think we have only one page, so it wouldn't make that big a deal. But if we wanted to make our page more than one page in the future, if we wanted to add our resume or something like that, then it's really useful to be able to reference those functions from anywhere on the website.
It also just makes your code look a lot neater. So yeah, in the before times, you would just, so I've added a script tag here and I have linked this file that I've just created, which I've called script.js, but in the before time, like you can still do this. You can just write code in
just
here.
Write
so
code straight in there.
Console.log in here to print 5 plus 5. And like, that's how you do that. And all the CSS we've put down here, we've like imported it up here, but you would just actually just put it in a style tag, which you can do, but it's kind of not the best practices to do that anymore, because it does, you kind of want to keep your HTML for your content, your CSS for your style, and then your JavaScript is all your dynamic stuff. But just looking at the HTML, like what's going to be shown.
Yeah, so the HTML page still owns everything. It's still the boss. It has to link to the styles.css. It has to link to the script.javascript, but we jump out to do with the actual writing of the styling and the actual writing of the scripts.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so we've linked in our script now. We do need to do some HTML updates to make this work. It's not old JavaScript. I did lie saying one is JavaScript, one is CSS, and one is HTML. This one's a little bit of everything here, but it's very fancy. So I think it's definitely worth it. So we're going to replace what image are we going to replace? I think it's our translate app. So how we're going to do this is we've currently just got the one image, but we want to make that actually a list of images. So I'm going to replace.
Handily, I've prepared some earlier.
Excellent. You've already
prepared. You've got a bunch of images there.
Oh yes, exactly. We have some images that we have created of the same image.
To have them the same size and shape too.
Absolutely. Yeah, otherwise you're going to be playing with more CSS and more probably margin auto to make sure everything stays in the middle and doesn't skew off to the side. So Okay, so we're going to do a bunch of stuff in here. But firstly, I'm going to show just this unordered list of pictures that we're going to have here. So we're going to start by putting this in. So I'm going to need to upload more images firstly, because we currently have these 2 blank images. So let's pop in a couple more images into here. We're going to upload, and I'm going to find wherever they are in my very messy computer.
So Renee, while you're looking for images, I've seen this a lot when you look at how people do menu systems, or how they do carousels, or how they do a bunch of different things in HTML. They tend to use unordered lists. Why do you think that is?
I think it's really useful to have like all these items, and you can use like do this except for the last list item, and do this except for the first list item in your HTML. And it's just a good way to say these are all part of the same thing. And when I was looking for like how we want to do our carousel, there was a bunch of different ways that people did this. Some people were using a grid layout and things like that. But I was like, this is actually just the simplest one. Like it's a classic. Grid is like a relatively new technology. But lists are just classic, I would say.
Yeah, a bunch of things inside another thing. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's it. And just got useful properties, and lots of people know how to use them, I'd say. So now we have a bunch of images here, and obviously they look like a beautiful carousel, and we can say we're done. Absolutely not. They are. They're just a big blob of images now. So that's
and they have beautiful bullets. Don't forget the bullets.
Oh yes, the bullets. That's here. And they're the style that we've applied to the bullets throughout the page as well, because we've said everything should have green bullets. So that's good. And okay, so now let's add the buttons to do the clicking as well. So I'm going to put all of this in a section. So where did I add all of this stuff? Where is translate? There we go. Okay, so this is all going in a section. And we have the top of the section, which has it has the buttons. I did borrow these things from the internet. So thank you, people on the internet who make carousels, and to talk about it. So we've got 2 buttons. I've given them some classes and some IDs so we can find them and do stuff with them. And if you want to have multiple buttons, so I did try having many carousels on the page, and you do need to make sure that you give them all a unique ID so you can find them and run the script for that button. Otherwise, it's going to just start clicking all the carousels potentially, which is not what you want. Okay, so we've got all of our HTML. That's it. We've got our pictures, and we've got our 2 buttons, which are the left and right buttons. Okay, so now let's write let's have a look at that. So it doesn't look quite right, and it doesn't do anything. So let's make it beautiful, I reckon, first, just so the buttons are where we want them. And there's a bunch of CSS for this, which I will quickly talk through. So we've also got our pictures still going down the page. So that's really important to get rid of that before we add the JavaScript as well. It's not going to really work until we have styled it a bit differently. So let's just pop down to the bottom. And I've just added this. So we're setting the area so the pictures don't overflow, basically, until you rotate them, which isn't quite working yet because we need to set up the stuff for the slide as well. So we're calling each picture a slide, and this is the slide wrapper. And this kind of just sets up the meta information about how it's going to work once we tell the slide how to behave, and just setting all the sizes, etc. And the margin order, which we heard is very important earlier. So we've got that. Then we're going to set up the slide container. So it's got even another container around it. So here we go. Now we've got these weird bars, and we can see everything in here, but it's kind of looking more like a carousel, the most primitive version of it. So you can slide around here and see all your images with these beautiful bars. So we probably don't quite want that, but it is reminiscent of a carousel because now we've got the extra stuff is hidden because all the width is set correctly and whatnot. I feel like we can do better though. So let's talk about the slide.
We have a question.
Yes.
Is that JavaScript with HTML and CSS? I think the answer is that we don't have any JavaScript yet. We're just really styling things with CSS.
That's it. Yeah, you can have this with just CSS if you would like this. But if we do want to have the buttons clicking, we're going to need the JavaScript later once we make it, get rid of these bars because they don't look the best, I don't think. Not quite the impressive thing you want to show off in your portfolio. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, let's just dig down this first. We're going to talk about the slide. So we've got, okay, how are we going? It's still quite weird, but it's setting up our grid, our flexbox. So we're not using grid actually. I keep using grid instead of flexbox. Our flexbox arrangement so that each slide can be the first, or that we're going to have a flexbox grid shape that's just got the one item in it is what this is saying. And then we want to get rid of the scroll bar because this is not stylish.
The 1990s called and want their slider back.
Slider back, that's right. So, okay, this should, each slide takes up all the room in the carousel. So these don't really work until they all come together. Let's get rid of the scroll bar. That's coming up next. Get rid of the scroll bar. We've got a few different ways to get rid of it to make sure it works on all the browsers. So we've got different ones for Firefox, for Internet Explorer 10 and forward, and also WebKit, which kind of takes care of Edge and Chrome, etc. So we can finally, at least it just looks like a picture and it's got these buttons, which you're like, well, they don't do anything yet. At least
the buttons are not, that's right.
Useless buttons. We will fix that.
We're going to do some button stuff.
We will, but first we're going to make the arrow buttons look really cool. They're like transparent thing, and they're actually going to be over the image, so it looks like they actually belong to the image. So I'll grab that code. Yep. Okay. Great. They're right here. They're as useless as ever, but actually more useful.
They appear to be on top of each other. Yep.
They do appear to be on that. Which let's position them and look a little bit better, please. That's looking a lot better.
Yes.
Like it's supposed to. They're still they might be not quite lined up. I think they overflow the bounds right now, but that'll get fixed in a second. We're also going to add a hover so that when we hover on them, they're going to interact. So that looks fancy, I think.
Ooh.
And no, actually, that's it. That's the whole thing. They're lined up and they're ready to do something. Is that lined up? It looks a little bit off. So let's make sure we've got everything in the right place. Position buttons. We've got all the position buttons. Everything's kind of redented itself. So I'm just going to make sure everything is in the right place by popping it all in it at one time. So this is the same code, but now with indenting.
One go.
Okay.
Make sure that
That's it. Okay. I think that's it. We've done it. We've made a button. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we just need to make our buttons do stuff.
Well, yeah, they're kind of useless. They're decorative buttons, ornamental, we could say. But yeah, let's have a button be a button. So we've got our JavaScript file that I made earlier, which is our script.js, currently empty. Okay, so we need to start by getting the stuff. As Amanda was saying with the DOM, we need to identify the things. Yeah, Amanda, do you want to get all the constants and things and explain what they do?
Okay, so we can see in our HTML that we've named those buttons particularly so that we can find them again.
Yeah, I'll share them in HTML.
Yeah, so I've got them here highlighted at line 57.
That's it.
So we have one ID, slide-arrow-prev2, which is our previous one, which is the one on the left. And then we have the other ID is slide dash arrow dash next to, which is the one on the right. And so we just need to identify those in the JavaScript.
Yeah, okay. So back to the JavaScript. We need to start by saying, we also want the slide container and the current, like the slide that's in it. So I'm going to grab the slide container, which is conveniently called slide. Whoa, that's not what we wanted. Slide container. Here we go. Const is how we assign a variable that's not going to change. So we've got constant.
We don't want to make this container do anything or change in any way. We just want to identify it.
That's it. So we've got that. We've also got our slide, which is the actual like image in there.
Yeah, well, we'll need that in order to change it, to make that the image change, right?
That's it. Yeah, because we kind of just made like there be 3 images in there, as we saw with the scroll bar, and we just want to actually offset where the box of images is, and that's how the carousel works. It seems actually quite primitive. It's just like they're just in there and you just don't see it, but
just slide it.
That's it. The web is all smoke and mirrors, really. And then we've got our 2 buttons, the next button and the previous button. And we've got some questions in the chat about event listeners and buttons.
I think the event listener was a tip. The one
yes.
before was, do you use .NET framework with C# for Microsoft developer work or any other languages apart from JavaScript? And I think that you and I both use other languages apart from JavaScript, but I don't use C#.
No, I'm not a C# developer, but lots of the people on my team, the other advocates, are C# and .NET developers. Yeah, so you should catch other streams on the Reactor if you want to see some stuff on .NET. There's even like a .NET conference coming up, so we're going to be having a bunch of .NET. I'm going to learn some .NET live on stream. It'll be great. But I have no idea what it is. I've never used it, so it'll be interesting to do that live on air. But fun. But yeah, and event listers, that's what's coming up. Thank you, Mr. Ozio, Mr. Okay, so yeah, we need to set up a function that gets called every time the button gets clicked. So we've identified the button. Now we want to say to add an event listener that happens when it gets clicked. So we're going to get this part here, and then we're going to give it a function. So we say next button, add event listener on click. And then we can just put inside it, we're going to set up a function. So we're going to do like a one use function. You could set a different function instead of having this one be specifically just for this event listener, but we're just doing like an inline function, basically. So we're getting the client width.
So if we were going to use this function again, we could probably make it a named function and call it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you had multiple carousels, it's probably the way to do it and set it up such that the function takes in the element from the DOM, so we could just use it generally for different ones. So we've got now our sliding left. So we're just adding the slide width. That's how much we want to shove it to the left. That's it. And then we could even, like, I've just added in for fun, just so I could see if it was working, like console.log to say where the slide is. And then we just do the same thing for the other direction to make it go the other way. So we can see clicky clicky. Yeah, not so much JavaScript, just 2 functions that are basically the same, and it makes it move around. If I open up the console, which is evading me of where that button is right now, but we would see where, here we go, it's in this button here.
Yeah.
And when we click these, there's so many buttons in this site. It would log. It's got problems. What have I done to you? Let's just. Okay. There's a missing bracket, but we didn't have time for missing brackets. We need to end the stream soon. Yeah. So So I don't know where our output is because it should be there. So I'm very perplexed by that. But it would be printing out like 300, 600, 900, 300, 600, etc. for the different widths. But that is our carousel. So we can see our whole site. Let's just make it a bit smaller. And then we're just going to talk about colors for, well, like 1 minute. And then we're going to sign off. Yeah. And yeah, that's our whole site. It's looking pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to hand over to Amanda to say some stuff about colors and choosing colors responsibly.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I am not a designer. So color is a thing that perplexes me. People manage to put colors together in a way that looks magical, and I'm not one of those people. So what I do is I go and find something on the internet that has people much more talented than me putting together color schemes. And then if you have a scheme for your site, then it makes you look like you're representing yourself more professionally, that you have a bit of a vibe going on that represents you. And so I would recommend going to one of the sites such as coolers.com, which coolers.co, which is where I send my students. And we go and search through thousands of color schemes until you find one that is what you think your scheme should look like, what your portfolio should look like. And then just deploy it with we use a 60 30 10 ratio of a main color, a highlight pop color, and then like just a surprise color for the little tiny bits here and there. So main color, sub main color, and then little highlight color. And then the extras tend to be on the same theme.
Yeah, that's it. Just pick, and like not too many colors. That's the
not
hot
too many.
tip.
No. That's the hot tip.
only other,
and focus on black for your text.
That's it.
Don't go and make your hot purple text color.
Maybe haze can be a color, but that's it. Like everything else is black text. And then a couple words on fonts. What are your recommendations?
So when I first started this in the web development game, you had to write your font family as I need a Microsoft font, I need an Apple font, and I need to think of the ones that are closest together because that's what people have installed on their computers, and no more. Fonts are on the internet. So we can go and have a look at fonts.google.com and find a font that really, we want our theme to look like. And you can very easily change a whole page and its style based on the couple of heading fonts that you use. So I'd use a really readable font for the most of the text, but for big headings and stuff, we can definitely use one of these funkier fonts.
Yeah, and all you have to do is copy in this link that's here, or if you want to put it in your CSS, you can use this and put it inside your style sheet.
Your at input,
and then it's accessible to you. And we did actually have a demonstration of this in our code already. So you can just see how you could change to a different font by collecting that and putting that link in right here. So that's just these 3 lines here. But yeah, super easy to make it your own, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the point of a portfolio. It should be you.
That's it. Absolutely. So that's all we have time for today. If you want to practice more at home, you can jump on the Cloud Skills Challenge, which Sarah has already posted above with the link, this link above. And you can learn more about VS Code, GitHub, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you want some more stuff for your portfolio or resume, you can watch, follow this resume workshop that's right here in this link, and finish that up, add it to your site, style it up beautifully. And if you want to learn more about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, especially is the last episode here, all on JavaScript, and you can use APIs and insert different pictures into your page from like other sources online. You can jump on here and watch previous episodes of it in the Code Garden, or if you need more help on GitHub and how to get started and deploying your site and things in order to have GitHub working for you, check out my workshop, Getting Started. But yeah, other than that, Amanda will be back next month for us because she loves
and this afternoon.
Oh yes, this afternoon. Forgot about that. To do the our later showing. If you want to watch this again in the afternoon, we'll be here. But do sign up. We're going to be making a GitHub profile to really show off your collective works on GitHub. which really goes hand in hand with this. We did talk about it during here, so I was like, why not just do that in October? So you can sign up on my website to join on the meetup, or if you're already on the meetup, just go straight to the meetup and sign up, and we hope we see you next month. You can also watch this recording of today's video that's on YouTube. Sarah has posted that in the chat for us. And if you have time, if you can do the survey for us, that would be fantastic. We really appreciate it. The event code is 17008. But that's what we have time for today. Amanda needs to go and be a teacher and teach her classes. So thank you very much, Amanda. And thank you all for joining us in the Code Garden today. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.